with our latest poll with Ipsos. And this race, Rick, I mean, it is as close as ever.
Yeah, good morning, Janae. Our ABC News Ipsos poll has Kamala Harris just out this morning in 49-46 lead over Donald Trump. That's just a tick tighter than last week when we had the lead at 4 points, but it's all well within the margin of error. And narrowing into the 7 battleground states, guess what? Nothing changes. An identical lead, 49-46 across the 7 battlegrounds. But inside the individual battlegrounds, we still see a little bit of a different story. These are our 538 polling averages. Harris leading in Michigan and Wisconsin, but by less than a percentage point. Right now, trailing narrowly in the polling averages everywhere else, including Arizona. That's 2.5 points. But again, all of this is within any polling margin of error. And there's new polls even out this morning that would suggest a tighter race, even if that's possible here. And there are signs of discontent everywhere. Particularly among voters for Donald Trump, but among all voters, 74% say that the country is on the wrong track going into Election Day. That includes half of Harris supporters, and wait for it, 98% of Trump voters say we are on the wrong track as a country. And 60% of voters say they are still dissatisfied with the candidates. And we finally found an area of bipartisan unity. 61% of Harris supporters and 57% of Trump supporters agree that they are dissatisfied with the candidates they are voting on this week.
Wow. And Rick, as for the battleground states, what are the candidates eyeing as their likeliest paths to victory at this point?
Yeah, and you heard Selena lay it out a little bit, but if the polls lined up exactly where things are in the Electoral College, if the polls are right, which is a big if, you'd have Donald Trump winning right now, 287 electoral votes. That's more than 270. But the polls, of course, are often off a little bit. So here's the scenario that Selena was talking about, the blue wall. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, if they all go for Kamala Harris, that is 270 electoral votes exactly. That means the presidency for her. For Donald Trump, a couple of different paths, but the likeliest, let's say he carries Nevada and Arizona, where he's been leading in the polling averages, Georgia and North Carolina in the South, historically more Republican. He just needs one more state, and it could be any of the big 3. Pennsylvania, the likeliest and the biggest prize. That is the biggest battleground, and it is close to a must-win as we see for both candidates. There's agreement on that this year as well.
And Rick, we were talking about this behind the scenes this morning, that poll out of Iowa that now shows Harris leapfrogging, leading Trump, 3%. What can we glean from that?
Yeah, well, for starters, remember where Iowa landed last time. That was not particularly close, about an 8 or 9 point win for Donald Trump. And it's possible that this poll is on to something powerful. It could be an outlier, it could be off. But if it's right, not just about Iowa, but about some other upper Midwestern states like Wisconsin and Michigan, if we start to see women break more heavily toward Kamala Harris, that might change the landscape on election night. We'll have to wait and see today.
Very interesting. Rick, thank you so much.
Yeah, fascinating.
All right, first and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKadosh. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who I learned from. Shalom to the hopeful elect, preaching his word in truth and sincerity, and to your ribs who used to sit out there learning in silence and staying in order. I say to you all, Shalom. All right, so I saw this video and because I was curious, right? Since we're this close to the president being revealed, I noticed that every time it's so close that really is off by like 2 or 3 points. And every time I see that, I know for a fact this shit is rigged. Right? It's all fake. It's all manipulated. Right? And this is why the Trumpitos, right, the Trumpalites are getting ready to take up arms. Last time they felt the same way. They took over the Capitol building, right? But this time it's going to probably be worse. And it's why the National Guard was granted permission to shoot U.S. Civilians if need be. Don't think that this is by accident or that they passed this law because we're just closer to the election. And I think that, they've been planning this for a while, right? If you remember, President Obama was the one who removed the posse comitatus, where before then it was prohibited for police to have the same weapons as the military, right? Once that got done away, because they were already planning on civil unrest, right, by any means, right, to cause an instability. We've been at odds with Russia for a very long time, and everything's ties to each other, right? This election, and if you can see that they try to unalive Trumpito a couple times, 3 times, right? As of recent, they try to get him again. Let you know that they're not gonna try. I mean, from what I can see, that the shadow puppeteers do not want Trumpito to win. And as the map showed, from what the map showed, most of the country is voting for what's it called, the electoral or the college, whatever the hell it's called, votes are leaning towards Trump, and then they swapped it like, oh, but there's gray areas, right? They find a way to try to take it from that guy, which is just gonna cause more problems. Either they let him win to calm the people down and try to manipulate Trumpito, or they just take it for him because they got bigger plans that Trump is just going to slow down. I really don't know. What I do know is that no matter what, the people are not going to be happy.